What's going on, fellas? My apologies for the super clickbaity title. I didn't mean to make it so dramatic, but I just wanted to make it kind of clickbaity. The purpose of this video is to address some comments that I see very frequently. I've tried to respond to them, but I've been getting them more frequently lately. So I guess I just want to preface this by saying, no, I'm not a doctor or anything. This isn't me giving any sort of advice. This is just a totally anecdotal video, just giving my experience, chatting with people, and I guess, I've never really endorsed Minoxidil. The purpose of this channel was just to see if it would work. Plus, I have an identical twin brother, for those of you who have not been following. So I figured it would be a unique way to test it. And as you can see, yes, I do have, it's still pretty patchy right here, but I do have somewhat of a, this side's more patchy too, of a beard now. And I'll show you a little bit from under it. Anyways, so I've been getting a lot of questions on side effects. I did make a side effect video a while ago. I figured I'd just make a new one because I imagine most people don't really go watch my old videos because I have like 20 videos or something. It's unfair for me to think that people would just go watch all of them. So I figured I'd just make a new one on the dark side of Minoxidil, or just like a side effect sort of thing. Again, I'm not a doctor. This isn't me giving any advice. This is just my experience, and from people that I've talked to, just share some of their experience. And I'm not going to include any names, but I've been seeing a lot of questions asking about the side effects of Minoxidil. And from my personal experience, I did experience some of them, and I'm going to give my opinions on it. And there's a lot of people that will say that Minoxidil doesn't have any side effects, although I think that is, at least from people I've talked to, that's true for the vast majority of people. But some of the side effects that I've seen in the community, people, which I haven't experienced most of them, but I figured I'd just shed some light on, because I've been receiving, like I said before, a bunch of questions. I have seen that some people have experienced some dark circles under their eyes, a lot of flaking, which I think is mostly, I experienced that when I was using it on my scalp. And that is, I think it's mostly just some of the ingredients in Minoxidil, especially the liquid Minoxidil. I've seen that some people switch over to the foam and the flaking usually goes away. But the liquid is much more cheaper. So for those who don't, there's actually these brushes that you can use to get rid of it, especially on the scalp. But I think if you're using it and you just have stubble, what I found that worked for me is, if it is just dryness, then there's some certain lotions that you could use. There's also, like a brush that you can use. I use it on my scalp, but if it's just stubble, I don't even think the brush is really necessary. I've heard of people getting headaches. I've never experienced that, although I've seen that a couple of times. And I don't really know what people do for solutions for that. Some people have just had to stop using it, and some people have had, I've seen one incident of this. I'm not sure if this guy had some sort of allergic reaction to it or what, or if it was just totally unrelated, but he had some red spots on his face that were just like, it looked like somewhat of an allergic reaction or an irritation. And again, I'm not a doctor. This isn't really a solution video, but these are just, I think, things that people need to think about. Because again, I've never really tried to endorse Minoxidil. I've always said I think it's worth considering. But you really got to go to a doctor if you have some big health concerns. And I've also experienced heart palpitations. I've talked about this a lot in my videos, and I apologize for those of you who have already watched them. But I've been getting the same question over and over again. And when I experienced heart palpitations, and reiterating, this isn't me telling you that this is what you should do, but this is what I did. I just downed the dosage to about half, because I was reading online that some people say it will just go away. But it kind of freaked me out because I did that for a bit and it didn't. So I was like, okay, well, I either need to stop using this product, or if there's another solution, I want to try that. What worked for me was just doing it once a day, and they did go away. And sometimes I would just skip using it a day, and that worked for me. I've heard of, I haven't heard too many people experience this, But I heard some guy said he would microdose it, and he would literally just use like a couple drops and then just dilute it with a lot of water. And he said that, and again, I don't want to include any names. I know some of these guys are YouTubers, but I didn't really, I didn't really ask for permission, so I'm not gonna say any names. And these could be false, I'm not trying to say these didn't happen, but these are what people told me. And they used he said he microdosed it, and the heart palpitations did not go away. That's what this guy told me. So again, I think it's important to remember that this is a product. This is there are chemicals in this, and it's not just like this complete. For the vast majority of people, this isn't me trying to say minoxidil is a bad product, because in my opinion, it's one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I know that's really dramatic and over the top, but I just wanted a beard. As shallow as it is, I wanted a beard, and it worked for me. So what I did was I just switched to half a day. I'll just use it in the mornings, and then some days I would skip, because obviously I'm concerned with my health, and I don't want to, even if people are saying that it's completely harmless, and I've never heard of any sort of super, of course heart palpitations are very concerning, but I've never heard of anything that is super serious, long-lasting effects that I've never heard of that. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I've never heard of anyone having a super long-term. That's why when I talk about minoxidil or finasteride, I think minoxidil is worth it. But when you use finasteride, I've talked to many people who have stopped using finasteride, and these side effects did not go away. So that's why personally I chose to use minoxidil but not finasteride. And for those of you, I don't want to go too into finasteride, because that's not the purpose of this video. I've talked about it in many videos. Because for the most part, people who use finasteride don't have any side effects, just as minoxidil. But anyways, I digress. So some people experience heart palpitations, and those can really freak people out. And I've heard of many people who downed the dosage and that worked. And I get that question very frequently. And also I've heard of people, that's really the most of it, but I've heard of some people get sleepy. I've never experienced that with minoxidil, and I just through my own a lot of this is anecdotal, but I think a lot of people might think, oh well, maybe you have a heart issue. And for me, before I used minoxidil, like I said, I'm kind of a hypochondriac. I'm very concerned with my health, and before I used minoxidil, I actually had many heart tests done, and I did an EKG. I did so many. I don't even feel like listing them all, but I have a perfectly healthy heart, and I think I was just sensitive to this product, like some people are. And then when my brother used it, he had the same experience, and one could say probably, oh, you're twins, you have the same genetic predisposition, so that would make sense. And I agree. There could be extraneous variables that I'm failing to consider, but I also figured, well, maybe potentially it's because you're using it on your face and not because it's FDA approved. It's FDA approved for the crown of the head. So that's one of my thoughts were. But then I also have met people who have used it strictly on the crown of their head and experienced mild heart palpitations. So that's not necessarily the sole reason. It's because it's being used on the face. So that is just something to think about. And again, this isn't me trying to give some sort of medical advice. I'm obviously not a doctor, but that's what worked for me. And if you are concerned, I would totally go to your doctor and see what they have to say, to see if you have any underlying health concerns. But that's about it for this video. I don't want to make it sound like minoxidil is this scary thing, because for the vast majority of people, they experience no side effects whatsoever, at least from the people I've talked to. This isn't me. I'm not a doctor. But yeah, so other than that, that's probably because minoxidil is very easy to apply. It's not like it's a pill. I don't really think that I just would slap it on my face in the morning and it worked. So I don't really have too many complaints, but there are side effects that I think are important to note if you are truly considering this stuff. If it was me, again, I'm not a doctor, but I think that minoxidil probably should do recommending it once a day with I think it's 1 milliliter if I remember correctly. I haven't used minoxidil in a very long time, but I think that would be best. Even if you don't have side effects, I would probably start with the one that, if I was to do the journey again, I would have started with 1 milliliter and only used that. And if I didn't experience any side effects whatsoever, I would have gone up to the recommended amount. Because personally, I still need beard gains. And also, I guess another dark side of minoxidil is that some people are more responsive to this stuff. Like, for example, I have a buddy, he used it for like 5 months and he grew a full beard. And, obviously, I can't be like salty because it did work for me, but it took about 3 times the amount of time. And for some people, it takes they are just resistant to this stuff and it doesn't work at all. So that's kind of another dark side of it. But for the most part, most people that I've talked to have not experienced any side effects. But for those who have, it can be concerning, which is completely reasonable and rational to be concerned about this stuff. But that's what worked for me. If you want to subscribe, feel free. If you want to support me, feel free to like it. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Peace out, everybody.